Got the voting system. Anyway, well, Victoria talked about putting this guy on trial. Well, that's what we're here for, so let's get started. All right, now, how this is going to go. We have a judge. I wanted to have Judge Justice O.D. Peace. Couldn't make it. So I had to ask our March for Freedom emeritus judge here, Victoria Palmer. She is going to sit and she is going to preside over this trial. I will be acting as the prosecuting attorney. Our perp is over there. And so we are going to put him on trial now. And what we're going to, this is going to be fun, kind of. But remember, you guys are the jury. So you guys are part of this. Whether he gets convicted or not really is up to you. So let's get on with the trial. So what we have is we have a mask mandates pinata, and when we get done, we're going to have the kids come up. We're going to put a blindfold on, and we're going to have them take a whack at it. All right. So we've got the pinata, and we're going to be doing the Star Wars thing. So you guys are going to have to use the Force. So be ready. You're going to have to cover your eyes and use the Force to take this thing out. All right, Judge Victoria, are you ready to start the trial of Jay Inslee?
Order in the court.
All right, well, let's get started then. So, Victoria, our Judge Palmer, is going to read from her prepared statement.
Matt prepared this statement. I just want to make that clear. We will now list the charges against Governor Inslee. Stealing money from the people of Washington for the purpose of embarrassing us in a worthless political campaign. How about $50 million worth of masks tests just this week? My goodness.
Back, buddy.
Yeah, we're putting this on your bill. Failure to keep the virus out by closing our state to Chinese travel and trade. Exceeding emergency powers authority granted by the state constitution. Yeah, what is this emergency going on? It's going on 2 years now. I can't imagine. Yeah. Mandating mask wearing where there is no threat of infection. I'll say so. Destruction of 37,000 businesses. Destruction of the lives of millions of people in Washington state. Forcing an unknown pathogen on minors. The destruction of the education and enculturation process of millions of students. Inflicting psychological terror on the citizens of Washington state who possess critical thinking skills. Those of us here, for sure. Demonizing citizens, especially, the unvaccinated. Seriously. Weaponizing the Washington state legal system for use against your political enemies. Very true. Oh, yeah. Graduating from the University of Washington.
Go Cougs! Go Cougs!
Used to be a good thing, but it's definitely, there's a bias there. Having your daughter employed by Bill Gates. There is some, money connection there. Ignorance, incompetence, cronyism, hooliganism, coercion, assault, murder, aggravated assault, and aggravated aggravation, etc. The prosecution will now present opening and closing arguments to the jury. Members of the audience are welcome to provide evidence or add any charges of their own.
Thank you, Your Honor. Our perpetrator today is standing before you or sitting before you. He has committed a number of felonious offenses, but his biggest crime is not that he committed the offenses, but that he thinks he committed no offenses and continues to compound his offenses by continued forced vaccinations, by actually now they're talking about setting up internment camps, concentration camps for people, and this all harkens back to the Nazis of the 1930s. All right, Jay Inslee is also... Jury, Jay Inslee is guilty of being a tyrant, of overstepping his bounds, and of being uncontrolled. Now, if anybody would like to come forward and state charges against Jay Inslee, please do so now. Now we have additional charges against Jay Inslee. Anybody else want to bring anything up? that we might not know about? Okay, well, then I think yeah, okay, let's have it. Don't be shy.
Hi, Jay Inslee also on 2 bills recently that were had to do with cap and trade. These bills were not to go into effect for a while. They were supposed to be delayed. Well, guess who did partial vetoes? And all the Republicans and Democrats were very unhappy about this because instead of delaying it, it went into effect immediately. They're all very upset. And it's been through Superior Court, made it very clear to him, the state Supreme Court and Thurston Superior Court, that he was not to be doing these partial vetoes. It was outside his power. And that is another thing he has done. And why did he do it? To make these bills active now. That's not cool, and it's illegal and unconstitutional.
Thank you. More charges against Jay Inslee. Anybody? What about you guys? Anything? Nope. All right. Paul, go ahead. Our other congressional candidate in the 7th District.
He needs to be investigated and charged with the missing unemployment funds that happened. The woman who oversaw the security on all of that was protected, was kept on, and went on to play onto a bigger role in the Biden administration. So we have to ask ourselves, where did all this money that was supposedly given to under the CARES Act? Well, it looks like a large chunk of it didn't go to what they said it was, and that needs to be fully investigated. And he needs to be charged because he obviously was in charge of the whole of that whole process. Okay.
So one more count of misappropriating public funds on Jay Inslee. All right, anybody else? Any more charges? Anybody? All right, well, jury, I think that I'm going to close my argument, but I would ask you and I would remind you that this person is an unrepentant criminal. He has violated the sacred trust of the voters of Washington State. He has assaulted our children. He has assaulted us. He has declared people like us who think for ourselves the biggest enemy Washington State has. So that kind of person, well, we need to just go ahead and let the legal system do its job. So, Your Honor, I put the trial back in your hands.
Do we have a defense for our defendant?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Bob Ferguson is his appointed defendant, but he's actually in court against Tim Eyman right now, so he won't be here to defend the governor.
Court appointed.
Paul, are you going to be his court appointed? Okay, we know how that goes.
Public defender.
Yeah.
I am Bob Ferguson's avatar. And in defense of my very close friend, Jay Inslee, as the Attorney General of the state, none of your charges are substantive, and if they are, we control the courts. So that's the way it is. And you don't like it, that's your problem. Okay.
Bob, you're going to jail too. I hope you know that. I can't save yourself. All right, so I think that we don't have any more words from the defense, so shall we go ahead and proceed?
Let me remind the jury that should Governor Inslee be found guilty, he will be remanded to one of his own concentration camps. That seems to be a fitting punishment for the crime. First one in the door. Yeah. And I have personally worked with many corrections officers who were terminated due to not vaccinating, and so I think we have a lot of volunteers that will help run this concentration camp for him properly. Okay. All right. So we will now go through the list of charges, and the jury will decide whether our defendant is guilty or not guilty to each charge. Jury, what say you to the charge of stealing money from the people of Washington for the purpose of embarrassing us in a worthless political campaign? What do you say, jury?
Guilty.
Guilty.
What was that?
Guilty.
Guilty on that charge. Next one. Failure to keep the virus out by closing our state to Chinese travel and trade. What say?
Guilty.
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 I find him guilty on that charge. Jury, what say you to the charge of exceeding emergency powers authority granted by the state constitution?
Guilty.
Yeah, that's a big guilty.
Yeah. I'll win this.
Next one. Jury, what say you to the charge of mandating mask wearing where there is no threat of infection?
Guilty.
Including millions of children in school, kids outside, driving in your cars, working outside. That's a big guilty.
Did they say guilty? Is he guilty?
Oh, we got plenty of guilt on that one, yeah.
Thank you.
Jury, what say you to the charge of destruction of the lives of millions of people in Washington state? Amen. Guilty. Jury, what say you to the charge of the destruction of 37,000 Washington businesses?
Guilty.
Yeah, that's pretty unanimous. Guilty. Jury, what say you to the charge of the destruction of the education and culturation process of millions of students in Washington state?
Guilty.
Yes, I'm going to have to say guilty on that one. And jury, what say you to the charge of inflicting psychological terror on the citizens of Washington state who possess critical thinking skills like, of course, yourself?
Guilty.
Guilty. And so on that note, I think,
Did you skip that?
what did I skip? Oh, there's more. I had to find the other paper. Jury, what say you to the charge of weaponizing the Washington state legal system for use against your political enemies?
Guilty.
Yeah, I think that was pretty guilty. Okay, here we go. Jury, what say you to the charge of graduating from the University of Washington? Yes, University of Washington, and using those connections to push this. Jury, what say you to the charge of having your daughter employed by Bill Gates?
Guilty.
Yeah, that's a big guilty. We need to look into that connection there. All right, and let's, on the final and most important charge, jury, what say you to the charges of ignorance, incompetence, cronyism, hooliganism, coercion, assault, murder, aggravated assault, and aggravated aggravation? Big time guilty. All right. Well, on those counts, I think that was 12 out of 12 guilty charges. I hereby decide he is guilty, and he will be remanded to,
He'll be remanded to custody.
he'll be remanded to an indefinite quarantine, subject to the end of this emergency, which may not be for a while.
All right.
It's too sunny in Gitmo. I think we're sending him to Yelm. All right, thanks you guys. Any more?
Go ahead. I'm just going to put him in his confinement facility for now.
Oh!
So don't.
Hello everybody, Matthew Heines. Hoping you've enjoyed the trial of Jay Inslee. Now of course this was just a mock trial, but we can put him on trial for his crimes. In order to do that, we are going to have to take back our elections and go back to in-precinct voting. There is no other way around it. After the last elections that were hacked by the Chinese and the Democratic Party, we cannot continue on like this. So please, do whatever you can to get involved, and get involved to go back to in-precinct voting. That way, we can really put Jay Inslee on trial. If you want to stay updated to my campaign, go ahead and go to voteforheines.com. I really appreciate the support I get, and I really appreciate all you, because you're the ones I'm doing it for. See you next time.
My name is Matthew Heines. I'm a veteran. I'm a veteran of the 82nd Airborne. I took the oath, and I'm here to defend my state from the communist Jay Inslee. Now,
Mine eyes have seen the glory of